quite familiar with this situation, but recently we had this officer that attacked my son, and we found out he had criminal history, sealed documents, and all that stuff. And it took 6 months for us to unseal those documents, but the police department or the city attorney blacked out the names of the people that complained against this officer. And they tell us we have to sue. What classification of attorney would file a lawsuit against the police department and the city? Would it be a civil attorney?
Civil attorney.
Okay.
That's where you would go for that.
Okay.
Just a little advice, because I'll answer your question. Because I'm a parent. Something I've told my kids, and they've heard it since they were very small, is if the police stop and talk to you, and you talk to them without me, whatever punishment you thought you were going to get from the police, I would triple. Okay? So I have to be the bigger threat for them. The fear that I will be second to find out is the only way I think I can ensure that they call me, so I can make sure they're safe and their rights are protected. And any parent can do that to their kid. You think it's bad when the police talk to you? No, talking without me, whatever it's going to do, it's going to get much worse. It's much better if you have a parent there. And if a parent goes down to the police station after you get called for your kid, you tell your kid, shh, we'll talk about this later. Okay?
Yeah, the worst thing is to say, oh my God, Justin, how could you? And he goes, I don't know, I just smoked a lot of weed, I wasn't thinking, if you say, how could you, why did you do this, you're almost inviting him to confess in front of them. So save that for at home.
I actually just had a police confrontation this Friday. And I was wondering, did you say it was legal for us to record without informing them, or did
Yes.
you inform them?
No, you do not have to inform them.
And so they don't have to inform us either, right? They're recording us secretly?
Yeah, the law would work the same way for them. They normally will tell you, but they don't have to, because they'll normally put the tape recorder, like if they're going to tape something, they'll go ahead and put it on the table. But something I guess we all should be aware of is that many of the squad cars now have video right there in them, so that they can film traffic stops. They also are real careful now too to position you if they're going to ask you questions, so that you're inside of the camera. That's part of the reason they're pulling far more people out of their vehicles than they ever used to. See when they got out, see how unsteady they were on their feet, type of thing.
Tasers now that are coming with the cameras in front of them, so they can film it just before they taser it.
Oh, that's cool. So they can watch me shot.
I have a question. Is there any right against cops stopping you over and putting like the lights, not letting you see anything?
No. I can't say. I mean, that's just one of those things where you have to complain as a citizen. And so there are citizen boards for most of the police departments. And believe it or not, they're not overly helpful. But they, in certain situations, you know what, having a black mark against that officer could help out in the future. So I encourage people to report it. I really can.
Oh, and I was wondering, so we don't have to give them any information or even talk to them since we're minors?
That's that one.
Well, if you're driving.
No, I mean, we were we were just walking down the street and they pulled us over and asked us for information. Can we just say I don't want to give you my information to my parents here?
Yes.
Okay, so then you can just call your parent up and say, hey, listen, this happened, blah blah blah.
Yes.
All right, and well, what happened was it was me and my nephew and my niece, and they stopped, and he's 13, and they told him to go over there, put his hands on the car, and search him and everything. Are they allowed to do that?
Well, they can still do a pat down even on people who are underage, so they can still do a pat down. What time of night was it? Was it past curfew?
It wasn't past curfew. It was starting to get dark, but it wasn't past curfew.
Unfortunately, I think they do take advantage of the youth more than they do adults, because who's going to believe a kid over an adult? It's sad, but we've been doing this a long time, and we've seen it over and over and over again. Yes?
On the Miranda rights, when the police stop you, they usually are very friendly and they start chatting and talking the situation, and then Then suddenly it turns serious, and if they arrest you, then they give you your Miranda rights. This happened to me. It wasn't a really serious thing, but when I went to court, I thought I was protected by the Miranda rights anything before, but his claim was that anything you say before I read your rights is full game, right? Is that
It's
correct?
either way. It's one of those gray areas where the judge decides, and they look at factors like how much time passed in between, and just different things that show whether it's all connected or whether it's two separate things. So it's risky.
Well, with regard to when they have to give you your Miranda rights, it's when you're in custody. So if he's just chatting to you a little bit, like, oh, what's your name? What are you doing in this area? And he
So-and-so said you did this.
right. And if at that point he's still claiming, oh, if he wanted to walk away, I would have let him go, he doesn't have to give you your Miranda rights. It's when he decides that if you tried to walk away, then I was going to detain you, that's where he has to give you Miranda rights. And how, as an individual citizen, do you know when he makes that little decision in his head, right? He's the one who goes to the judge then and argues, oh, he was free to go up until I read him his rights.
So
That's when I've decided.
Another gray area. Better to just not say anything, I think.
Is it even required by law to read the Miranda rights aloud anymore?
Yes.
Yeah, if the person's in
I
police
thought that had
custody.
changed.
Yeah.
If you're in police custody, and sometimes that's obvious, you're handcuffed, you're in the back of the police car, but it's these
If
other
you're being
times.
detained.
Yeah, and sometimes that's not clear. If they say, will you step over here and wait?
Not only if you're being arrested, but if you're being detained.
Yeah, but exactly where you draw the line on how to define being detained is tricky and often gets hashed out in court, so it's risky.
Well, that's why it's usually important to actually ask first thing. As soon as they ask you that first question, you ask if you're being detained, you're free to go.
Exactly.
Yes.
If they say you are being detained, then you remain silent.
Yes.
I see your points either way, but that is a very good question to ask.
And on the Miranda rights too, after you've been read your rights, do you have to answer, and you decide, well, can you pick and choose what questions you ask afterward, after you've been read your rights, or do you just have to totally clam up? Or you can say, well, I'll answer this. He asks you one question, you answer that, then he asks you another question, you say, well, I'm not going to answer that one.
You have a right to stop questioning at any point. Even if you start talking after getting Miranda, you can say, I don't want to talk anymore. And there's nothing they can do about that. But just remember, as Suzanne said, whatever you tell them, they're going to summarize.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.